Good evening, everybody. The Music Fan is back, bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. And I am back with another Are You In? Now, yes, I have a little bit of a scene change tonight. I am cat sitting for a couple of people, so I decided this would be a perfect time to put out a video. And like I said in my previous video, this is the second of two themed Are You Ins. This time around, we're looking at two British bands, or should I say this time around, an artist, because tonight we're taking a look at the newest Liam Gallagher album entitled Why Me, Why Not? Now, William John Paul Gallagher is an English singer-songwriter from Burnage, Manchester, England. His only previous solo album is As You Were, but you may have heard of him in a little band called Oasis. Yes, with his brother Noel Gallagher, this band dominated the British rock scene in the 90s, bringing back a psychedelic sound that wasn't prevalently seen since the Beatles. You could definitely get a lot of comparisons with this band and the Beatles. Of course, you may have heard of a couple of songs by them, a little known song known as Wonderwall, as well as Don't Look Back in Anger, Morning Glory, Champagne Supernova. But this band had a lot of solid hits over the years, whether it's Supersonic and Live Forever, as well as Cigarettes and Alcohol from their first album, Definitely Maybe, or some might say and roll with it from What's the Story, Morning Glory. Do you know what I mean? As well as Stand By Me from Be Here Now, or All Around the World, which was a very popular song in the 2000s. I believe it was on a Verizon commercial, if I remember correctly. Either that or a Samsung commercial. Go Let It Out and Who Feels Love from Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. Stop Crying Your Heart Out from Heathen Chemistry. Lila and The Importance of Being Idle from Don't Believe the Truth, as well as Let There Be Love. And even though it was their last album and doesn't get as much credit as some of their better stuff, I still like a lot of songs from Dig Out Your Soul, including The Shock of the Lightning and I'm Out of Time. I personally enjoy a lot of their work, and it was a shame to find out later that they had broken up, because not only were they famous for their music, they were also famous for their lack of chemistry as brothers. They were known to get into a lot of fights during their Oasis times, to the point where on August 28th, 2009, they finally got into the biggest spat that they had at the end of a concert. Noel walked out and was never to be seen from again in terms of Oasis, and that was the last time that Oasis was together. Later, Noel Gallagher came out with his own band, Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds, though we hadn't heard as much from Liam Gallagher until his solo career started in 2017. I was really interested in both his album and Noel Gallagher's because they both dropped in 2017, and though I enjoy both, I really enjoy Liam Gallagher's. Noel Gallagher pushes a little bit more of a different sound than Oasis, but Liam Gallagher is able to harken back to a lot of what Oasis was really well known for, that sound. There are so many good songs on this album. I love Paper Crown, Greedy Soul, Bold. There's a lot of songs that hit that classic Oasis vibe that you've been missing for years. You get to Come Back to Me, which is the 10th song on the album, and every song before that is pretty solid. And then, yeah, Universal Gleam isn't the most interesting to me, but All I Need is a beautiful way of ending the album, making for a really cool callback in sound, but also a very solid album. It was in my top 50 of 2017, and I would have loved to have talked about it, but I just didn't get the time to do so. So now I'm happy that I'm able to take a look at another one of his albums. When I found out that he was putting out a new album this year, I was really interested to see how he could progress that sound and make for another very solid album. Unfortunately, he didn't really progress the sound that much. There are some more risks taken on this album, and there's a little bit more use of strings and orchestra, but for the most part, you're getting a lot of the similar sounds that Noel was using on the first album. Probably even a little bit more folky rock, alt rock, than the more Oasis vibe. But you still get a lot of really solid songs on here. Starting off, you get Shockwave, which seems to be about everyone who's wronged Liam and talking behind his back and starting controversy, and now whoever those people are, they are getting what they deserve. There's a lot of really good energy on here. It's very jaunty. and a lot of fun. And it kind of honestly reminds me of Lila. It has a kind of a slower psych rock feel, but it still has some really good energy to it. The chorus is really solid and makes up for a little bit of a lackluster verse melody, but I could definitely have seen this on an Oasis album. Similar in vibe, you get The River a little bit later on the album, another one of the singles. It has very much an anthemic rock song with some really strong vocals from Liam. I also really enjoy the chord progression. It's very minimal, but it's really interesting because it plays around in that C minor vibe. The chorus has one of the better lines on the album. I really enjoyed this particular line. This song is talking about trying to shape up and be more self-determined and stronger to fight against the evils in the world. And the particular line is, they say that change comes when the water falls, and I've been waiting for you down by the river. So it's talking about, yeah, this will change, or only if you can take the time, and I've been waiting for you to take that change. There's a lot of songs on here that talk about self-determination, being better, and not feeling sorry for oneself, and this particular song nails that sound and that idea. Other songs that fit the mold of making sure that you don't feel sorry for yourself are Why Me, Why Not, Be Still, as well as All Right Now. Those three are right in the middle, each having pretty solid effects. Why Me, Why Not is the title track on the album, and it has some great orchestration. I really enjoy the power and the bombastic nature of a lot of this song. And what I really enjoy is the playing around with the half-step approach, where it starts on, I believe, an A, and then goes down to G sharp, and then G, and then back up to G sharp. So instead of going down that half step again to F sharp, it moves to G sharp before going to A. A really cool idea that I don't really hear in that half step approach. What really stands out here is also how the guitar and the strings work together in contrasting melody ideas on the pre-chorus. I really enjoy it and how it always changes on each pre-chorus, upping the ante. The chorus itself has some great energy, shows off a little bit of Liam Gallagher's falsetto that you don't really hear that often. Be Still, on the comparison, is a little bit more straightforward rock and one of the more high energy songs. I love the energy on here. I love the melody and harmonies on the chorus. One of the best choruses on the album. It's so much fun. It's very simple, but it's effective in its simplicity and with the message itself. However, to me, All Right Now is one of the more bland songs on the album. The verses are pretty dull, while the choruses are nice, but short. The bridges are the best part, with some nice change up in the drum energy and some interesting harmonies, but overall the song isn't really memorable and it stays a little bit too long. The fade out outro is really an interesting idea, though the melody on the outro is long and overstated. That's why the song feels a little bit too long to me. Other themes on this album are dealing with looking at positive steps in Liam Gallagher's life, which are songs like One of Us, where it's talking about Liam extending an olive branch to Noel and asking for him to remember that he is still part of the family, even though things haven't been great in the past. It's very touching, remembering that like no matter what happens, you're still one of us. And it's also really cool if you watch the music video. At the end, there's a little date on one of the doors that says August 28th, 2009. I believe this video came out on August 28th, 2019, marking the 10-year anniversary of that date, which gives a little bit more grandeur to the song. The song itself, though, is a little bit lackluster. The verses remind me a lot of Violet Hill from Coldplay. That part's fun and simplistic. The chorus melody, even though there's a lot of power in it, not my favorite one on the album. I do like the outro fading out. It kind of reminds me of a Bon Iver song a little bit. Some decent ideas for a pretty simplistic arrangement. You also get a song like Now That I've Found You that has so much good energy. It's about Liam's estranged daughter, Molly Morris, who he finally met for the first time, I think about a year ago at one of his concerts. It's just so much fun. It's a very simple song, but I love the melodies on here. So much good energy. When you hear Liam sing, now that I found you, now that I found you, I won't let it go. I just love it. It's very simplistic, but so much fun. Continuing that good vibe, you got Halo, which is about Liam's fiance, Debbie Gwyther, who is also his manager. They've worked together for years now, and she has helped him with his solo career. You got this lovely song, and that feels really Beatles-esque. This is very much old school Beatles with the bluesy piano and with the 60s rock flair with a little bit of 90s harder rock thrown in. It makes for a really cool combination. There's a lot of really good harmonies and melodies on here, and my favorite parts are the pre-chorus and chorus harmonies. So many good harmonies, especially when you get that oblique motion where you have the one particular line that's just staying on the same note while you have the other line moving up in half steps. Really, really, really cool idea. It makes for a really fun song that just really sticks out. Other than that, you got a couple other songs. Once, Meadow, and Gone. Meadow is really cool in this more psychedelic approach. The chord progression on both the verse and the chorus are really interesting and work through a lot of different modes. A lot of it playing somewhat jazzy, other things moving down in half steps, making for a really beautiful song, full of a lot of color. The melody and harmonies on the chorus are really colorful because they play around in those chord progressions. The verse is alright though, but it starts and ends pretty weirdly. I don't really enjoy the organ work on here. It feels like it's all over the place. Once is also a decent folk rock song, which is still a little bit slower. It's a rock ballad, and it's talking about looking back on life when things were more simplistic, and now you're in a state in your life where things are kind of bland and things are a little bit more difficult. It's a nice sentiment song. There's some decent parts on the bridge where the song switches between F sharp major and D sharp major, moving in that modal mixture ideas. But overall, it's one of the weaker songs because it doesn't give enough energy. Finally, you get the last song on the album, Gone. It has a decent bite for a closer. There's this orchestration that makes it feel a little bit more serious than some of the other songs. It feels like a song that I could definitely have heard Frank Sinatra singing. It has that orchestration. It has a little bit more of a classical rock / blues feel with like a little bit more theater nature on there as well. It's fun, but it's also a little bit cheesy. It's about someone that Liam's dating at the time who has wronged him and now he's moving on. And I kind of wish that on an album where there's so much looking back and trying to change things for the better, I kind of find it a little bit weird for this song to be the closer, where this is just an overly dramatic song about leaving somebody. I think it could have worked a little bit better in the middle of the album, but it's a decent song. I just wish it wasn't the closer. The River would have been a much better closer, keeping with this idea of bettering oneself and now putting it on the listener to also better oneself. Overall, I don't think it hits the highs of his previous album, but there are still a lot of really solid arrangements on here. And I do like the more introspective look, not just for bettering oneself, but also for the positivity that's going on in his life. It's really cool to see someone who has been plagued so much over the years with Oasis and with familial problems, being able to turn a new leaf and find things for the better. And who knows, with this All Expanses ended, maybe we'll get another Oasis album. It would be really cool to see what they can do after being gone for 10 years. The pacing on here isn't as great as You Were, because to me, two of the weaker songs are at the beginning, but that middle part does have a lot of good pacing. And honestly, once you get past those two songs at the beginning that aren't great, other than All Right Now, you're getting some really interesting songs that are probably a little bit more diverse than what he did on his previous album. Though that being said, it doesn't stretch the limits of what he did. There's still a lot of very familiar sounds that he had on As You Were or on Oasis. All that being said, I'm still going to go give it a full listen. There's still a lot of really solid material on here that you can look past Once and All Right Now. One of Us has a lot of still really good energy. Meadow, for it being weird has some really colorful ideas, and Gone, even though it's very cheesy, still has a lot of great energy. There's a lot of really good energy throughout this album, both fun and just very reminiscent of what Oasis did in the past. I would love to see those two get back together and make an album. As much as I do enjoy Noel Gallagher's Flying Birds, and as much as I have enjoyed what he has done with his 2 solo albums, it'd be really cool to see what they can do now. But that is my time. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you love or hate this album and your reasons why. Let me know other albums of 2019 you'd like me to review, share this with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel. That way I know that you enjoy what I'm doing and want to see this channel become bigger and better for the future. Until then, this is Music Fan, and I'm signing off.